free morphemes and bound morphemes. So first of all, let's talk about the definition, or let's repeat the definition of a morpheme. We talked about morpheme earlier, we talked about allomorph earlier, and now let's repeat the same definition of morpheme so that we can differentiate between free morphemes and bound morphemes. So a morpheme, basically in morphology, it's the smallest unit that carries meaning or fulfills some grammatical functions. So a morpheme is just a unit, just a fragment of a word that has some meaning and it fulfills some grammatical function. It has some grammatical functions. For example, ed of the past. Ed, it's a what? It's a morpheme. For example, played, the at the final position, it's only a morpheme. And it fulfills some meaning, which is it fulfills some grammatical functions, which means that this unit conveys that the verb is conjugated in past simple. It's a grammatical functions. We have a lot of morphemes, for example, ed of the past, play, boy, s of the plural, able, suffix able, beauty, which is a noun, ing, and an. Each of these words has some grammatical functions, and some of them has meaning, others don't. For example, boy, if I tell you, for example, boy, this boy is what? It's a morpheme, and it fulfills some grammatical functions of being a noun. And also it has some meaning, which means when somebody tells you boy, you instantly and automatically you imagine a boy in your brain, in your mind. Same thing with beauty, same thing with the verb to play. But for example, s of the plural, ing, it only fulfills some grammatical functions. So free morpheme versus bound morpheme. So free morphemes, as you can know from the name, free means independent. It means like somebody who is free. Bound morpheme is like, imagine a slave. Somebody is dependent on someone. Somebody relies on someone else. It's like this is the difference between free morpheme means dependent morphemes, and bound morphemes. You can say dependent morphemes are bound morphemes. Independent are free morphemes. So now let's go in deep to talk about these, okay? So a free morpheme is a single morpheme that constitutes a word and can stand alone. So the key difference here is that stand alone. Free morphemes are morphemes that can really stand alone. They can make meaning by themselves. So for example, in the word house, house is free morpheme, and the plural of house is houses. Okay, the s and the house. House is the free morpheme, as you can see from the board. In green, you can see house and houses. House is the free morpheme in the word houses, and the house contains two types of morphemes. The first one is house, and the s of the plural is the second morpheme. So the free morpheme here is house. Now let's talk about the bound morpheme. Bound morpheme is a morpheme that must be attached. Focus on this. It must be attached to another morpheme. It is subordinate. It's dependent on another morpheme. It cannot stand alone by itself, as it would have no meaning. You know, it doesn't have any meaning. For example, in the word houses, the noun house alone is a morpheme, and the s is a morpheme. The house is a free morpheme, and the s is a bound morpheme. House can stand alone, but the s of the houses cannot stand alone because it does not have any meaning. It only fulfills and achieves some grammatical functions of conveying or meaning that the noun is in a plural form. For example, houses, it's in plural form. Okay, so for example, the word houses, the s is a bound morpheme because it doesn't have any meaning and it cannot stand alone, but house can stand alone. As you have seen earlier, we have free morpheme and bound morpheme, and in free morpheme we have two types. we have lexical morphemes and functional morphemes. So lexical morphemes are words that have some meaning. Such morphemes can be verbs, adjectives, adverbs, and nouns. So as you can see, free morphemes are two types. The first type is lexical morphemes. Such morphemes have meaning in themselves, and it includes only verbs, adjectives, adverbs, and nouns. For example, play. Somebody tells you play, it has meaning. Beautiful, it has meaning. Quickly, it has meaning. And boy, it has meaning. So we have four types of four categories of four terms, as you can see them, four parts of speech that belong to lexical morpheme category, which are verbs, adjectives, adverbs, and nouns are all lexical morphemes because they have meaning and they can stand alone. Functional morphemes refer to a closed class of morphemes, including article, prepositions, demonstrative pronouns, which do not carry any meaning on their own, but only fulfill some grammatical function. Okay, so we have a, an, and the. They are articles. To, on, in, at, prepositions. This, does, these, those. Pronouns or demonstrative pronouns. So we have these words, which are articles, prepositions, demonstrative pronouns. They can stand alone. It's not like bound morpheme. They can stand alone. If I tell you a, to, this, they can stand alone, but they lack meaning. The difference between lexical and functional is that lexical has meaning, but functional morphemes only has some grammatical function. They convey some grammatical function. So, for example, this conveys some grammatical function. An apple. Apple is a noun, so it is a lexical morpheme, but a is only functional morpheme because it doesn't have meaning, but only has some grammatical function, yet it can stand alone. And they all can stand alone. Now let's talk about bound morphemes. Bound morphemes, they cannot, never stand alone. They need to be attached. They are dependent on other morphemes. We have two types of bound morphemes: derivational morphemes, inflectional morphemes. Bound morphemes, as we said, we have two types. The first type is derivational morphemes. Are those morphemes which produce new words or change, but not necessarily the function of words. They change the functions of words. This derivation of the forms of words is fulfilled by using affixes. So derivational morphemes basically are morphemes that produce new words. They give us new categories, from verbs to adjectives, from adjectives to noun. They change categories. And sometimes they change the function of words, but not all the time. Not all the time. It can change category, but not all the time. Sometimes they can only produce new words. For example, active. Active is what? Is an adjective and becomes activity when we add the T, the suffix T, activity. Here we have the change to another category, from verb to a noun. Read, readable. Read is the verb, readable is the adjective, something which can be read. Beautiful, beautifully. From adjective, which is beautiful, beautifully, it's the adverb. Clear, clearly, clearance. From adjective, which is clear, to clearly, adverb, and clearance, which is a noun. Here we have new words, but sometimes we don't have new words. Like, for example, read and read. Do and do. We add some suffix, some prefix, but it doesn't change the meaning. But most of the time, the categories can be changed. Bound morphemes. So the derivation morphemes do not change word categories all the time. That's for sure. As we said earlier, they can change, but not all the time. Like, for example, with the suffixes, with the affixes or prefixes, as you can see in red, re, an, and co. For example, change, which is a verb, charge, which is a verb, Recharge. It remains a verb. It doesn't change, but only the meaning, which mean we add the prefix re, which means we recharge it over and over again. It changes some meaning and it gives us a new word, but does not change the category from one part of speech to another part of speech. We have the verb to clear, or the noun or the adjective clear. Okay. It remains adjective and clear by adding a prefix. Existence, coexistence, from a noun to a noun. It doesn't change, but only it gives us new words. Derivational morphemes, they derive, comes from derive, the verb to derive and to generate new morphemes, new words. The last type of bound morpheme is inflectional morphemes. Inflectional morphemes are those morphemes that do not create any words. They do not create any new words, but they only show some grammatical functions of a given word. These types of inflectional morphemes do not change words categories, but only fulfills and achieves and attempts to achieve some grammatical function. For example, the S of the plural, which is a morpheme, which is an inflectional morpheme because it doesn't change the category from boy to boys. The plural, from singular to plural. Mother's cooking. My mother's cooking. The S of the possessive. Okay, it's same thing. Adjectives also of the comparative and superlative form, like we have smart, smarter, smart, smartest. Okay, these est and are morphemes, are inflectional morphemes. Okay. Also, we have some inflectional morphemes for verbs like s, ed, en, and ing. For example, s of the third personal singular present. Third person singular for the present. For example, he speaks, she speaks, it speaks. The s. The ed of past tense, like he cooked. The ed. He smoked. He I don't know. He something with ed, anything with ed. He typed. Okay, he typed. He walked. Okay, anything with ed, it's inflectional. En for past participle, like eaten. Okay, ing for the progressive, like he is eating. Okay, the ing, eaten. Okay, like this. So these are all inflectional morphemes, and they are part of bound morphemes. So bound morphemes are two types: derivational, which derives new words, and inflectional morphemes does not derive any word, but it only changes or fulfills some grammatical function.